This seems, and I noticed this more and more and more and more. And I first pointed it out to you guys, I believe it was, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. And I told you, I'm always going online, and when I go frequent some of these podcasts, some of these people are revered people that I actually like. I like their material, etc., etc. But when I go to a lot of these guys' pages, one of the things that I always notice is these guys have always got the giggles. Has anybody else noticed that? Like, you ever go to somebody's podcast, right? And you're sitting there, and it's like everything that they bring up, even if they're talking about something serious, they attach some giggles along with it. And I don't know if it's a mechanism just to keep the crowd going. I don't know if it's a mechanism or whatever the case may be. But what I always notice is no matter which one of these guys that claims they're a leader, claims that they got the answers, claims, and I'm not directing this personally at anybody, but I just notice they're always giggling. A giggle, giggle, giggle. Meanwhile, things like that happen in Buffalo, New York are happening and being prepared over and over and over again. I'm about to throw up a video for you guys in a few minutes. And it's of a woman that had this white gentleman that came into her business. And apparently he had something wrong with him, but he did this intentionally. So he was calculated and smart enough to do this. And I use this as witnesses to tell you why. When this man comes into the business, he refuses to leave this woman's business and starts trying to use reverse psychology on this woman to kind of explain what he's doing. He goes through and peers through her windows. He tries to attempt to go through her personal areas within her business or whatever the case may be, right? And I saw one guy react to the video, and that's why I decided to do the video myself because I seen it the day before yesterday. And throughout the whole video, the dude was cracking jokes, but not realizing his effect from cracking those jokes. And what he was also doing, because he streamed it live, what he was also doing, he was encouraging by his laughter, encouraging the other men, giggle, giggle, giggle. And I got to ask you, how many podcasts have you been on? And the guys are talking about a serious topic, and the whole time they're sitting there giggling, giggling. I just left somebody that I really respect's page. I've actually tried to hand him information before. I've tried to tell him certain little things that he may not know. Yes, sir, you were at one time, you worked for Madonna, but after you left Madonna, you was out of the loop of what really was going on. And a lot of things, regardless if you have friends still in the industry or not, they're not going to tell you. They're not here to tell you. I know this for a fact, and you know this too. The problem is that these men have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of followers. And those hundreds or tens of thousands of followers join in on the giggles with them. See, I don't sit online and giggle all the time. And a lot of people don't like my page sometimes for that because I don't have constant giggles. I don't have to sit here like a church preacher and be like, Lord, have mercy. I don't have to do that. I just simply speak the way that I'm going to speak because I don't want you to have giggles every time you come to this page. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for those things. But I heard these gentlemen today, one particular gentleman who I also revere and respect, I'll just call him the Dragon. This man started mentioning about 9/11. I have a friend, and his wife was actually in the towers when the plane hit. And this man gave the imagery and said it was from simulation, conspiracy theory, nevertheless, which is another fraction of this. I'm going to make this real quick. I'm not going to make this lengthy. But I just say to these men, if you fuel your whole conversations within conspiracy theories, if you fuel your whole conversation with what ifs, like the TV show, if you fuel your whole conversation into entertaining people versus giving them real information they can use, then you're going to see a repeat of what happened at the Buffalo, New York shooting. And in fact, that video that I'm about to throw up can show you the emphasis of why you need to pay attention to this. Y'all please hit the like buttons if y'all in here. I appreciate it. Like what I'm saying or not, please hit the like button if you showed up. Also, Cash App is in the description box. A lot of these men that are online nowadays, that are preaching to you, having debates and all this stuff, well, these men are not prepared if another situation like Buffalo, New York happened. And I try to emphasize that to you when I told you, only thing you had to do was look at the footage, and all those black people have to would have sitting outside the store after that man had went in the store and shot all those people of color. All those people sat there in that parking lot, both black and Latino, and allowed black and Latino and white cops to arrest this man instead of rushing him. Okay? Now listen, I grew up with Italians and Greeks. I know what I can say online and what I can't say online, and I know how to pivot my way out of things if I need to. I'm very good at vernacular. You understand? Y'all please hit those like buttons if you would. But the problem I have is there's a lot of gentlemen out here, and I'm not jealous of you, I'm not envious of you, but you have hundreds of thousands of followers. And what you're doing is you're encouraging these men. At the same time, you're trying to entertain them to keep their attention. And what you really should be advocating for is not keeping their attention through laughter. No, that's the job of comedians. And I know there's some comedians on here that have podcasts or whatever the case may be, and they talk about serious situations. I have no problem if your title is a comedian. But if your title is someone that is a teacher, an advocate, someone that people adhere to on a weekly basis, day-to-day basis, donate to you, and et cetera, then it's your responsibility to consistently, in my opinion, make sure that the information stays serious, especially when you're in a group of men versus by yourself. See, when you're by yourself, I think it's almost awarded to you to giggle and joke or whatever because you're by yourself online. But when you're with a group of men, no, that's the time to huddle down and have a serious conversation. No clever little funny Sunday church, Baptist school, Sunday school, vernaculars, none of that. Because see, your problem is now is you're low in numbers, whether you realize it or not. And that's why so many different minority groups, inclusive to this, outside of whites, are now attacking you. And as slowly as you catch up and you get hold of what the information that people like myself and many others that we'll say we're rogues now that we try to give you, the less you want to consume it. You look at, well, he ain't said nothing funny. Well, he ain't heard him got to the point yet. And, well, you all the time sound like the old fashions. And those old-fashioned rhetorics, those old-fashioned approaches that we shall overcome and all that shit, it serves you no purpose in 2022. See, you have men out here now that are weekend warriors, men that go into the country for 2 or 3 weeks with their country brothers, and they learn how to set fires. They learn how to split wood. They learn how to make oak soap. They know how to do all these things at a survival contention. They have to go on the run, as they have to move or whatever. They have to shoot at you from a distance. They have to plan the shooting or whatever the case may be. And it hurt my feelings. And I got to say this, and I'll say this online. And it falls under the law. So I don't have to be scared. A lot of y'all claim to be brave, but you're real careful about what you say because you know, massa macho. The thing that you have to prepare yourself for now is learning how to load, clean, pivot, and shoot a gun effectively. Now, I'm not talking about you guys that are out on the streets. And to be quite honest with you, I was in the streets with you one time. We need all you gangbangers, all you roughnecks, all you G's, all of you out there. You need to get ready. There are private sector groups. I follow a lot of these groups. I talk about it all the time. I put up screenshots where I've commented in their lives, not after the broadcast is over, solely by myself. I couldn't get even 2 people to go over there with me if I wanted to. Y'all please hit that like button if y'all would, to these pages and go to these men. The other night, on one particular page, the guy is a gun advocate. His name is Rich. Not my Rich, but another Rich. And this guy, he went into a conversation about a gentleman that was down in Atlanta, Georgia, or Stone Mountain, Georgia, one of those areas down there in the Atlanta metropolitan area. And this man, if many of y'all don't remember, he was a black member of a gun club. This is an ex-military man. This is why I'm speaking on this man. And this man actually stopped the march of a KKK extremist separatist group or whatever the case may be with him and another group and a group of men that were in between being ex-military men and men they had trained personally. Men they had trained personally. This man was a brigadier commander, I believe, of some sorts in one of the branches of the military. And they just indicted this man and sent this man to prison. And I don't know how long this man's going to be going to prison, but what happens is once he's going to prison, his influence is gone. Now, if you don't know this, if you want to ring the troops, if you want to galley up the troops or whatever the case may be, you've always got to have influence and you've always got to have spirit. You always got to have gumption. You always got to have spite. Because if you don't, those soldiers will not remove themselves from the position they are at when it's needed to be. And that's the same thing you saw happen in Buffalo, New York. Now, many of y'all don't remember what I'm talking about. There was a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. And at that time, the kid that did it was outside. He wasn't inside. He was outside in the parking lot as they put the cuffs on this young man, right? Because he's 18 years old, so he's a young man. They were outside putting the cuffs on him. And instead of all those men out there, after knowing that there's 10 dead bodies in that grocery store, I said the men. I didn't say the women. I said the men. The men. Tú sabes, claro, que macho. The men, instead, they sat there with their phones like this, and they almost sounded like some bitches on cue. I'm sorry for my French. Oh, girl, they didn't shot everybody up in here, girl. Oh, girl. Oh, girl. That's what the guy that was filming sounded like. And I kept looking as he was filming, and there was another black guy walking by, another black guy walking by, a Spanish guy walking by, another black guy walking by, and they're all just looking bewildered like a deer in headlights, horrified. But what they didn't realize was psychologically, that man that they were arresting had gotten all the fucking, he had got exactly what he wanted, which was to instill fear on you, to instill a pause button on you. And whether you get it or don't get it, and I know many of you don't get it, and I don't say this to insult you. I've been very privileged. I'm biracial, so what? I freaking grew up with Italians and Greeks, so what? But the thing is, I'm trying to give you information on what motherfuckers are plotting and planning on you. Whether you get it or you don't get it, I don't know. But one thing I do know is I'm consistent. And one thing that I do see is a lot of times, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 weeks out, the same things that I was talking about, a lot of people are either raising the question now on their podcast, most of the time when it's way too late, or they're sitting back and they're giggling, or the most, oh my God, the most insulting thing is when they try to dismiss you. You know, the old clever hood booger talk. How you know? You ain't smarter than us. You think you better than us. You know, all that shit. I used to get that shit when I was a kid. They hear me speaking Spanish or some shit like that. They'd be like, well, you think you better than us. Oh, your hair this way. You think you better than us. All kinds of silly stuff like that. And a lot of these men have taken those contentions that they had as children and they brought them into adulthood. And now they're exposing those same contentions on everybody else. And they've got men and women following behind these people because they sound like Fiddler on the fucking Roof. Grow the fuck up, guys. There are people in this country that are preparing right now on another attack that's identical to Buffalo, that's identical to Uvalde that happened down in Texas, that's identical to many of the almost 280 shootings that you've had in this country. And men of color are rather sit back and gossip and giggle online every day. And not one time do other men come out and they say, hey, you ain't got nothing else to do but giggle. You think that's funny? You think that's funny? You think that's funny? There should have been at least 15 motherfuckers ready to rush that doy up in Buffalo, New York when he was getting arrested. While he was getting arrested, he was right in front of them. At one point, they only had 2 officers on him. They weren't going to shoot nobody out there. But your fear factor won't allow you to test it. But let it be somebody that did you wrong, that's the same color as you, or Latino or black. You ready to go to war? Or we got to go get them. We got to go hop in the car. Da, 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 da. Why? Because there's no fear factor. So if you see there's no fear factor amongst yourselves, as far as you're dealing to each other, what the fuck do you think is in a widespread world? They are telling you. And if you guys don't get it, or you do get it, or whatever the case may be, I don't know. But the only thing I can speak of is this. here in the tri-state area as well as nationwide, there'd been a litany of different attacks. Now, some of those attacks, yeah, they've been by homeless people or whatever the case may be. But we had a guy down in Brooklyn just a couple of weeks ago who was a YouTuber that hopped on the train and started shooting people indiscriminately. Y'all please hit those like buttons if y'all would. Started hitting and shooting people indiscriminately. Now, luckily, nobody died. Then followed up by that, there's another copycat. Then you throw in the people that are being followed home with these follow me home crimes and things like this. What I'm telling you is, as you're sitting back and you've got emphasis or ready to go to war or ready to advocate for young thug, there's a millionaire who knew what he was doing, or you're ready to advocate for the local rapper that got killed, the shot, God bless their heart, and you put them in more importance than you actually put the greater population that lives around you every day, which in most cases, with most of y'all, is either black or Latino or both. And then your only emphasis in life is, I want to be identical to people that in most cases I've never ever lived around in my entire life or interacted with until I was an adult, which are whites. Many of you come from urban neighborhoods. Many of you come from backgrounds that you did not integrate or have friendships established lifelong in early years with white people. So a lot of you are learning about whites as you become adults. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of y'all get into their culture as adults, and instead of interacting with them, what you're almost doing is you're pantomiming them. You're pantomiming actually not even their culture. You're pantomiming the words they say in their octaves and the octave and tone in which they use it. This is not a clear understanding of how the psyche works. And that's what a lot of you lack. So it turns out that you end up having a lot of conspiracy theories. Now, some of your conspiracy theories hold some truth. Some of your conspiracy theories hold some weight. And for that gentleman that I was on his podcast, I'm not Jesus, I'm not God, but I know what I know. And how do you know what I know? What you should be asking yourself. Now, I don't mean that in a confrontational way. I mean that in a realistic way. Sir, I'm trying to tell you something, and I can't tell you directly. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, hey, well, maybe you should have been faster. But I will tell you guys this: there's going to be a repeat of what happened in Buffalo, New York. And the question is, are you going to do the same reaction you did last time when you have these men that are out there and instead of rushing this motherfucker and asking the question, why is there an 86-year-old woman on the floor laying in that store that fed the homeless for over 30 years in that area? Why isn't there somebody rushing this little punk motherfucker right now and at the very least punching him in his face? And if you don't know what I mean, you ever seen the movie Hustle and Flow? In the movie Hustle and Flow, there was a scene after he beat up Skinny Pimp. It was played by the character Ludacris. He was getting arrested DJ at his house. And one of Skinny Crew's crew ran over and duffed him in the face in front of the police. They didn't do nothing but grab him, put him in the handcuffs. Y'all should have stomped the fuck out that motherfucker. Instead, y'all out there filming for your podcast and filming, just had the footage or whatever. Fuck the footage. You can get the footage at any time. What you should have been doing was acting. And if that's any testament to where you are currently and you're prepared currently to go, then I'm telling you, you're already beaten. I just wanted to say those few words to you guys. Maybe you'll get it or whatever. But I'm going to tell you guys something real quick. If you want to be taken serious as guys and men or whatever the case may be, one, stop being condescending and presumptuous and thinking you know every fucking thing. I don't care how long you've done something. That doesn't mean that you're right. The Greeks and the Romans wouldn't allow you to attend university until you were 40 years old, if that gives you any stake and measurement. So many of these men that are sitting out there nowadays and claiming they got all the answers, but at the same time, they're sitting online and they and he. Just roll the footage sometimes. You'll hear it repeatedly. He. And I'm like, you and he on every podcast you got. When the fuck do you get serious and be like, hey, and then when you talk about something in terms of defending yourself, these motherfuckers get scared. Oh, don't you come around here talking like that, stirring up all the good colored folks. They go into slave octave because you're scared. And just say you're scared. That's all you gotta do. Just say you're scared. Now, I'm not the toughest fucking guy in the world. I ain't killed a million people or whatever, and probably won't have to. But one thing I do know is this. I know when I see what I see. And whether it's the women or whether it's the guys, because both of them were shot and killed up there in Buffalo, New York. Most of y'all elected, instead of talking about the story and duration, y'all allow ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, and everybody else to catalyst the story however they wanted to, instead of creating a narrative and driving it with yourself. You could have got a national momentum to travel right up there to Buffalo, New York. And this goes for some of my colleagues as well, all right, and the alum. Many of you rappers didn't even lift a fucking finger to go up there and see what was going on with those people. All you gangsters, all you shooters, none of you went up there to see anything. If you were real smart, you would have bonded that motherfucker out of jail and had your way with him. But you missed that opportunity. Oh, that's right, he didn't get a bond. But if you ever get a guy like this that does something like this repeatedly, make sure they get a bond. Advocate for them to get a bond. And when they get a bond, they pull up to the back, Joe. Now, a lot of y'all think I'm extreme or whatever the case may be, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'll be extreme. I'll be extreme. I'll be precautious. I'll have trajectory. And I see where this shit is going. And I'm trying to tell you, I go and frequent their pages. They know I go and frequent their pages. This guy that I was telling you about, Rich, that has his quote unquote show that talks about nothing but pistols and loads them and unloads them in front of everybody or whatever the case may be, talks about and brags about how many guns he's got. This white gentleman who I don't know exactly is a separatist or a nationalist, which is a very big difference. Nationalists believe kind of in the sentiment of, I want my rights back, I want my guns, da 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 da. They're not necessarily racist. But extremists are separatists. That's something different. That's somebody that believes in all those morals, but believes that they have a divine right to have those because it was, one, built by whites, two, established by whites. We live in a white system. And unless you are very, I'm going to read you in 2 seconds, GT Massive. And unless you somehow or another correlate and understand the language that's being presented to you, instead of guessing, instead of having conspiracy theories, you're gonna be washed the fuck away. And I'm trying to warn you and tell you, guys. I'm not telling you that because I think I'm better than you, I think I'm smarter than you, or whatever the case. I'm telling you this because I actually give a fuck. You know, I can't write any of the things I did wrong. I can't. You know, it is what it is, and I don't try to. What I try to do is just move on, and whatever you can do, you add. You know, you get it. And some of you are a little, I don't know, a little too slow nowadays. You sitting out here giggling online, the key, like one of the fucking girls or something. Different kinds of black people. Social media will never be dominated by educated or professional or confident. And it's a goddamn shame. I just read what he said. You know, YouTube was started up back in 2007 to be a place for creators. That's what it was called, a place for creators. And around the intervention around 2011, 2012, you started seeing more minorities get on here, whatever. And they had the old brand of what you now call citizen journalist, okay? That's the term that they will use in court against you. You're a citizen journalist. And if they don't use that term, you better elect that they use that term, or you could have strenuous more consequences in the end. Citizen journalist, that's what you are. You claim yourself as a citizen journalist, it'll get you away and around from a whole bunch of other things, like being called an extremist, being called a purist, or, you know, white separation theory or whatever. And if you mention most of these guys, they'll always enter it. Watch most of these guys that do these atrocities, like these mass shootings, they always enter into plea under those terms. If they were on social media, oh, I was a social commentator. I was a citizen journalist. You guys are using your platforms for giggles and cash apps. All right. Now, I got my Cash App, I got my PayPal, I got my GoFundMe. You can find it right in the description box if you dig anything I'm saying. And I've had other men of color who have the same thing come on my page ready to argue with me. Oh, why you got your Cash App up and all that? But they're doing the exact same thing and collect way more than I ever have. I'm talking about some of these guys collecting 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a week. You know, I'm getting crumbs and scrapes if that, you know. When he said what he said, and I want to see what GT Mass, I want to say your name right, it spoke out because most of the people that are educated, professional, or whatever else, instead, not by the white community online, but by the Black and Latin community, get ridiculed. Unless you are talking in the tone of a woman almost, and talking real snarky and real sassy, because a lot of the men on here, don't get me wrong, not a lot of you, but a lot of you with huge followers get on here talking a little spicy and a little all the time. Now, I ain't talking about the LBGT community. Oh, no, I ain't talking about them. What I'm talking about is you act a little spicy as a form of trying to say you a man or whatever, which is almost laughable half the time. Half of these guys that sit around talking about they men ain't even grow up with a dad. Can't make this up. So when you get these guys and you see them and they're giggling and all that shit or whatever, and you frequent their channel, I want you to write this in their chat room or leave this as a comment. Can you fellas stop giggling and cackling and keying all the time and get down to business? Now, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? And wait for that answer. And if they don't have no answer for you, you should leave them fraudulent motherfuckers alone and never give them another fucking dime. I got guys that I see online, and every time they go online, they in some fucking studio, they in some little, safety location or whatever. And I know I talk a lot about it or whatever, and I'm not a Trump supporter, but y'all seen me, I go up and I talk my shit in front of Trump Tower. You know, I'm the only person that's ever seen a person of color out there do that. I have people of color walk past me and say all kinds of stuff y'all don't even know I'm susceptible to, because they'll have the assumption that I'm a Trump supporter while I'm up there. And then little do they know, no, I don't care for either one of them, Trump or Biden. I think it was a lose-lose with either one of them. You understand what I mean? And I said that the day of the election in front of Trump Tower with probably 30 cops at my back. The reason I bring that out and I emphasize that, and you can find that video right here on my channel, the reason I emphasize that is because of this, the bravery it takes. See, a lot of you men, you talk a good game online or whatever. You grab your donations, you get your paper, but you do one thing that messes you up that nobody's called you on, many of y'all. What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Now, the adverse effect of it is you could run up like those people did at the Capitol, and you saw the setback with that, which lets you know unilaterally the U.S. government will prosecute all. That's one thing. Whether you're white separatists, black separatists, Latin separatists, it doesn't matter. Yes, I'm talking about the Proud Boys. You got caught in Miami. That's interesting. Um, long story short, long story short is this. The man that was arrested in Miami, Tario, he's a Cuban. And he got arrested for at the helm of a separatist group, which is called the Proud Boys. I had the Proud Boys, and it's still in my video. I think it was maybe the 5th or 6th live I did in front of Trump Tower. I had one of the Proud Boys in their truck ride right past me and roll out the truck at me. They thought I was a Trump supporter. See how skewed this is? People seemingly in this country nowadays kind of segue ideas and race and make them into one. Okay, well, he's this race, gender, and male. Excuse me, he's this race, he's this gender, he's this culture, so he must think this way. And it's all falling from the truth. See, we don't all unilaterally think the same. We just don't. And some of us are smarter than others. Some of us are online, and the only reason you're online talking is because you have the opportunity to have a voice. Versus if you were in a classroom with other educated people or other collegiate people, which I have been, and many other people that are online have been, you will be laughed out the fucking room because you will be pushed as theory-based. So I'm asking all these theory-based guys that like to sit around and giggle and the key, and the he. What y'all gonna do? Umar? What y'all gonna do? Tariq? What y'all gonna do? And what you'll hear is nothing. They're gonna sit back in their little studios, and if things go down the way they go down, they've got more than enough money that they collected from you to go into hiding. I heard a man today talk about being a sovereign citizen. I have a friend of mine that used to produce me in the studio at Daddy's house, recording studio. Shout out to Flo, man. Flo. He's involved in that, sovereign citizenship and everything like that. And I respect him for it. I respect that man. He's a friend. But one thing I know about that sovereign citizenship thing, There's a lot of people that have tried that in this country, more notably white men. There was a man that killed his wife not too long ago down in Atlanta, Georgia. He tried to pull the same thing in the courtroom. Oh, I'm a sovereign citizen. Get him out of here. There was a man in Detroit trying to pull the same thing. I'm a sovereign citizen. Get him out of here. The reason sovereign citizenship doesn't work here or in the EU as effectively as you think it does, hey, and that as effectively as many of you think it does, is because of pure simple fact there is no sovereignty in the United States. The United States is basically a territory made up of many different other territories, including Alaska and including Hawaii and including the U.S. Virgin Islands, including Guam, and including a couple other places that you probably didn't even know America had ownership of or had bases there, both military and embassies. I don't want to sit here and claim I have all the answers, but I do know one thing. I'm very familiar with white individuals. I grew up around them. I know how they think. I know how the most insidious of them have the most benign plans for many of you. I know how to listen to certain things they have in their verbiage, and I know for a fact because I've sat there before and watched white men and listened to white men sit there and make fun of groups of kids. And then when I approach the person and I'll say to them, why are you saying what you're saying to those kids? Those are kids, man. I've done this many of times. Anybody knows me knows I do shit like this. Anybody knows me knows I don't get my shit off of fucking with brown and black people. I get my shit off with fucking with people that are white, that fuck with people of color every time. I don't care if you're a Mexican immigrant. I don't care if you're a black man from so freaking Ghana, Africa. I've always been like that. It's just something in me. I was raised like that, you know? I never take the opportunity to go fuck with my own first before I take preference to that. And when I did that and I interrupted that man, I said, what did you just say? Because those kids didn't pick up on it. Now, when I say kids, they were about 20, 21 years old, so not fully mature. They got mad at me. Yo, you ain't got to talk to him like that. I said, these motherfuckers are trained. They're trained to automatically have empathy for anything that doesn't look like you. You ever notice that? I've seen black men do this. I've seen Latin men do this. I heard a man one night say, basically, you're on your own. When it came to some girls that would talk about, hey, this person is over there bothering me. I literally heard that with my own ears. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to even believe in me. I don't give a shit, you know? But one thing I will tell you is this. I watch every last one of you. A lot of you popular YouTubers. A lot of you are doing a great service to here to YouTube and as well a great service to the people. But there's a lot of you that are all hype, all talk, all books, all Google. And if you pick something from their mind real quick and ask them to say it and recite it real quick, give you the answer, they can't do it. Because they don't have any prior notion of any education, formal or on their own. But yet they'll jump here on YouTube and they'll tell you what you need to be doing, how you need to be doing it, where you need to be doing it, financially shame you. I've been financially shamed several times. Doesn't bother me, especially if you're not donating. If you guys want to donate to Cash App, GoFundMe, PayPal's in the description box. It'll also be in the pinned comment after this if you'd like to support. But and I think I'm more worthy of it than anybody. Like, trust me, not because of the material or anything like that. This what I experienced the past 2 years. If you're a new listener or whatever, I was formerly homeless for a minute. Been back in action for about 5 months now, and I'm proud of that, you know. I didn't have a studio when I first started this. I did this from the street. That's why I say so adamantly. These guys are hiding in fucking studios telling you, let's get ready for the war. Well, what you gonna do? Half of you won't even go back to the neighborhood you're from because now you're renting some place or whatever that you're paying for with donation money each month. Huh? A lot of you. Now, I'm not pointing no fingers at anybody in particular, but a lot of you. You know who you are. You know what I'm saying? The Polites of the world, the Tyreeks of the world, the Tommy Sotomayers of the world, and I have nothing against either one of them. Especially Tommy Sotomayor, who fits on a total different aspect of this conversation. But to the Tariqs, the Umars, and many others that are just like you that are on YouTube and you give this perception to the people that you got the answers or whatever, you're not versed to have the answers. If you grew up in the projects all your life, you've never been around whites until you was an adult. Okay, let's be honest. All right. And even then, at that point, it's a guessing game and articulating and deciphering and unpacking what they are saying to you and quickly, instantaneously. I know this because I've had my own friends. When I used to be with Bad Boy, I remember this. You can ask anybody up there at Bad Boy this, and they'll tell you that. A lot of times, and I knew this from the background, I knew this for a fact. A lot of times, especially when we were younger, not as much as we got older. Okay, I spent 17 years with the company. But as we were younger, a lot of times they used to have me go talk to the whites. It's the truth. Or I would speak to the whites and things would happen for me. Listen, I flew around the country for 2 years straight with no ID. I lied to you not. And people would be like, you ain't going to get to go with us. You ain't going to get to go. I said, I bet y'all will. Because I knew the conversation to have. Now I might have to pontificate a little bit differently. I might have to situate my voice not too much from what you hear right now, just to have the interaction. But what a lot of people make a mistake of is they think speaking kindly is the same thing as articulated, instituted conversations. See, somebody could be, hey, Joe, how are you doing this morning? That's great. And in the back of Joe's mind, Joe was like, why is this bitch always giggling every 5 fucking minutes? The guys I know anyway, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking about black guys, I'm talking about the white guys I know, if you confused anywhere. Why is this bitch always giggling? Uh-oh, here goes another one brown nosing. Here goes another one kissing ass. And when you break this threshold, which many of y'all don't understand, and it means being yourself, there's a lot of white people in this country that just want to see you as a black person. They just want to see you as a Latino, and they respect you more. You don't believe me? Ask Martin Luther King. Ask Malcolm X. Ask Dick Gregory, if we could. Ask them, and they'll tell you the exact same. So when I say this wholeheartedly because I know a lot of African Americans and a lot of Latinos are extremely very proficient in day to day getting their giggle on. A key. And I'm telling you, and I'll tell you again, I grew up around these people. Yes, I grew up around blacks and Latinos as well, but I predominantly grew up around Italians and Greeks. I know how they think. I know how they instigate shit. I know how they'll go right into you. Have y'all not seen me on camera? I'll check them off. They be like, you better leave that white man alone. Why? Why? Yes, there's a risk. Yes, there's a way he could pontificate himself enough and maybe give people the example that I was the perpetrator and he's the victim. But I'm too versed for that shit at this point. And that's the difference between growing up with them and coming into existence with them as an adult. One of my favorite comedians, Corey Holcomb, and another friend of mine, Annette in Chicago, they will tell you firsthand how segregated the city of Chicago is. This has come out of his own mouth. If you go and you look at his latest report, which I'll try to include after the broadcast, you will see another report that was just recent of 2021 that claimed how New York City was one of the most segregated cities, New York and New Jersey was two of the most segregated cities in the United States. Segregated city in the United States in 2021. Are you missing this? Or like, what part are you not getting? The most segregated city in 2021. This is what the demographics are for. Now go look it up for y'all if you want to. You can do it independently, so you could try to prove me wrong or whatever. I know I'm not wrong, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's another thing I hate too. Instead of trying to agree with you, most of them will try to prove you wrong so they can move up the helm and say, well, I will replace you. I'm better than you. Let me take over this show. And have 10 motherfucking followers in the past 12 years. I told y'all again about how a lot of people that are online that you guys are listening to, that you guys are donating to, or whatever the case may be, a lot of these guys ain't even got high school diplomas. Meaning they didn't graduate from high school. They're dropouts. They don't even have a GED. Yet they're getting online and they're telling you conspiracy theories. They're telling you, oh, this is going to happen. I know what they're going to do. How? You've never lived around these people. You don't even have any white friends. So how do you even know how to communicate with people? Let me tell you something. I can always tell the difference when I'm in public. And I hate to say this like this. Please don't get mad at me. I can tell the difference between somebody black or Latino that grew up with whites versus somebody black or Latino that didn't, and they're putting on a fucking pretending act in front of white folks. And you know what's something funny? White folks can peep it too. So they're walking, hi, excuse me. Yeah, that's great. You ever seen this shit? Oh my God, yes. God, yeah. And they'll start doing all that shit or whatever, whatever. They're doing what they saw off a fucking TV commercial. They're doing what they saw off a TV show. They're not acting their self. You understand what I'm saying? Now, as soon as they walk away from that person, watch the person that they turn into. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm not talking about if you just finished talking to a judge, you just finished talking to a cop, you just finished talking to a doctor, you finished talking to your lawyer, you finished talking to your teacher, you finished talking to the principal. I'm not talking about those people. Let's exclude them. I'm talking about that ordinary, everyday Joe that's based off of skin tone. You're respecting him automatically. That alone, you never guess or thought through your mind for 5 seconds. This motherfucker might be a janitor. This dude might roll the baskets back at the grocery store. This dude may be a fucking shade tree mechanic. You never roll any of that shit through your mind because inherently, the way you've been taught in this country is to automatically go with the flow and automatically adhere to what you see, which is a white face. White face equals what? Respect. Blackface, and I'm black too, equals disrespect. So you're disrespecting yourself in the same process of trying to respect somebody else based on notoriety of what you see in the country. I want you guys to get familiar with something. It's called an unaccomplished white man. I learned that term a long time ago from an ex-girlfriend of mine. Unaccomplished white man. And as she says, and I quote, and her mother backed it up because her mother was around me at the time. Ain't nothing worse in this world than an unaccomplished white man. Nothing. An unaccomplished white man is looked down worse than an unaccomplished black or Latin man, believe it or not. Now, you may not think that. You may think that it's a far-fetched idea, whatever the case may be. But what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of these guys that are on YouTube, they are preaching fear-mongering out of unversed fucking opinion, out of a fucking, they've never even had the experience to give you. If you're some type of, I'll give you a perfect example, but I'm not trying to attack these guys. If you're somebody like Sonetta and those guys or whatever that live in Harlem, the majority of the people that are around you are black. The majority of your friends are black. The majority of the people you interact and do business with are black outside maybe the corner store or going to the grocery store, right? If your whole circumference is nothing but black and Latin people every day, then generally speaking, how the fuck would you know what somebody white is thinking internally in depth? And I'm not talking about the good or the bad of what they're thinking necessarily. I'm talking about socially. Social attributes. That's what it's called. Social attributes. Social attributes contain with the way you talk, your vernacular, your octave, many other things. They attribute to things. There are some people out here that refuse to have conversations with even the likes of me because I have an accent. I've ran into that before. I can't have a conversation with him. He doesn't know how to pontificate like I do. And I'm talking about this is from other brown people. I've gotten it from whites too, but this is from other brown people. You put so much of a flex on education, which most of you go to school for degrees that are worthless. I went to a school for a degree that's basically worthless. You could learn everything that I learned at college. I went to school for digital media. It's a liberal arts degree. Half of the shit that I learned isn't even relevant or is not even used. For example, we use InDesign, Quark, and a couple other iOS engines or whatever, for developing coding to build websites, right? They don't do coding like that anymore. Nobody does online HTML5 coding anymore. Everybody's doing apps. And that changed in the course of 3 to 4 years. You see what I mean? So as you put an emphasis on your education or whatever, you should put more emphasis on what are you studying? Worthless degrees that you're going to be paying back and be in debt for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Well, you might buy you a couple trinkets, couple things, or a lease. Listen, I worked for multi-millionaires and rappers for 17 years. I know what I'm talking about when I see a lease. Okay. I know a lease when I see one. All right. The tags are different for one. The house imprint is different. That letter you get every month, it's not from a mortgage company. No, it's from the lender. So don't try to fool me. I've been around the best of them. I'm not talking about Star Island in Miami, LA, you name it. So you can't tell me about rich. I know rich. And I'm trying to tell you, a lot of you that come from poverty and get online pretending that you're something that you're not and never had the experience in your life, I'm trying to tell you what you're doing is a disservice to these people. You're giving these people false hope, just like these Baptist preachers of the past, the Christian preachers of the past. You're giving these people false hope. Now, Umar Johnson and a couple other people, I'm not saying y'all the worst people in the world, but what I'm saying is a lot of you motherfuckers need to kick the fuck in, like our Pearly said. Today is the day you motherfuckers go kick in. And you need to start showing receipts of what you're doing with these money that you collected. This one gentleman went as far, Umar Johnson, to stand in front of Rosa Parks' grave and promote his show and his cash app. And in my honest opinion, they should have beat the fuck out of you for that, Umar. You should have had hands laid on you for that disrespect. That was some disrespectful shit. You don't go in front of Rosa Parks shit and talk about, oh, I got a speech today. Y'all come on down, all right? Tickets right here. Tickets right here. Donations. Donations. Gifts. Gifts. You motherfuckers have reverted yourself to the Chitlin circuit online and don't even realize it. And it's time, fine time somebody say something about it. So if I got to be the catalyst of the person that says something about it, then oh, well, the fuck. Somebody's got to tell you. And in the real world, offline, many of you men are suckers. Okay? And you know what I mean by that. You're suckers. You wouldn't have been hanging with the guys. You ain't gang. You would have been right over in the corner reading your books or whatever, whatever. Now, a few of you are. You understand? But I'm tired of coming on every time that I get a Black and Latin dudes podcast and there's other Black and Latin dudes on there. They spend either the potential of the time arguing, giggling, keying. Not telling y'all hit those like buttons if y'all would. Keying or donations, but have the right to come over to another man of color shit and tell him like myself, oh, you shouldn't be asking for donations. Don't donate. I've actually had Black men and women too, and Latin men and Latin women too, come into my comment section and say, don't donate to that now. Then you go to their page and you look at their material, you're like, oh, but you got Cash App 10 times mentioned in this shit. 10 times. I want you to watch this on the replay back and watch the video I did before this. I barely mentioned my shit. And I need it. You know what I mean? If you guys want to donate, it's in the description box. And I also put in a pinned comment after this. But this giggling shit that you guys are doing, if you're fucking comedians, to be a comedian, go on tour, get your fucking agent, travel to cities, make your money another way. Come on YouTube and do the promotion of your show. Hey, this week I'm at the Funny Bone down here. This week I'm at Caroline's. You know what I mean? I'm at Salsa Cafuego, wherever the fuck you're at, doing your comedy routine. But if you guys are online and you're trying to be serious, if you guys are online and you're trying to preach to these people or whatever, you got to stop the fucking key and giggling. Because the women are looking at you and they're like, damn, they sound like us. Of course they sound like you. 72% of you raised them by yourself. Of course they emulate the traits of women. And then you're talking about you want a real man. How? Your girlfriend raised the dude that you dating, that your daughter's dating right now, by herself. You raised the kid that you got by yourself. No, I'm not blaming the women. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm telling you is this is your reality. And you got to start separating bashing you, which some of you men do. I'm going to give you that. It's between bashing and telling the honest to God truth. But at this point, 72% of you are raising boys by yourself, okay? I don't give a fuck how much you want to pretend, how much you want to put on an acting role, or whatever the fuck case may be. It's been that for the past 2 generations, okay? I've seen it happen with my damn self. I went to school with girls that were 12, 13, 14 years old having kids. So don't feed me that bullshit. And they were all three races, black, white, and Latino. You do not remember the most focused on white show that delivered this to the masses every week on MTV, 16 and Pregnant. They did it for multiple seasons. You boys have got to stop getting on here giggling like motherfucking the girls and start getting more hard-edged and serious. This is why a lot of these women don't respect you. They don't respect you because you come in with the same candor that they have, and you learned it from them. So at the same time, I don't blame them. I do blame the guys. But at the same time, the women, they're not completely right, but they're not completely wrong either. I can tell the difference between when a guy grew up with men and was up around men and when he wasn't. I can tell the difference between if you came up and you was about a single mother just by the way you react and act to things. You know, I go out sometimes, whatever, whatever, and I'll have men walk right up to me. This is young black and Spanish men. They'll walk up to me, and I never know what their intentions are. Some of them just want you to pay attention to what outfit they got on or whatever. That's what chicks do. A chick walks up to another chick that's got the same dress on as her and be like, bitch, in the club, at the funeral, at the wedding. You get what I'm saying? But now we got men doing the same behavior. And then they come online, some of these same men, and they're the most decadent, flamboyant, flamingo, sabes, motherfuckers you ever seen in your life. And they don't even realize it because it's so much of a normalcy. They've had a normalcy of getting used to that violent ass neighborhood they live in. They gained a normalcy to that loudmouth, cackling, always complaining, bitter ass mother of theirs that raised them all these years up to 18 by themselves. And at 30, seemingly, some of them still live with this toxic ass broad and they further development as men. You've let society influence you and make you think that you're constantly a victim all the time, which in many cases you would justify that you are a victim. That shit that happened in Buffalo, New York, that was a victim. Michael Brown, that was a victim. Many others across the country, those were victims. Trayvon Martin, that was a victim. But we now got people making up stories based on this victimhood. So you're playing victim instead of playing agitator now. And this 20 years back in the game, motherfuckers wasn't victims. This 15 years back in the game, guys wasn't victims. If you don't get what I'm saying, you just don't get what I'm saying. I don't know what to do to help you. But the only thing I'm saying is this. I don't have all the answers. I don't. I don't. I'll be the first one to admit that. If I did, hey, sun would shine 7 days a week and at least a minimum of 80 degrees. And I have chicks running around and head wraps and riding on the back of unicorns and shit. Talk about, hello, my beloved. If I had the choice. I don't. But what I do know is what I do know, what I've seen, and what I can retry back to you guys. There's been a couple of you big time bloggers that think you're superstars and shit. And I've sent information to some of it covertly to hope that you would actually catch what I was saying. And then some of you, I've sent it to you directly and said, this is what I mean. If you look at the history of the past messages I sent you, and you add up the times and the dates of what I told you to you guys, if you see this on the rebroadcast, it means you too. I call him Mo in California with a Z. If you go back and you look at some of the information I showed you, I'm giving you a forecast of how, and that's no cuff, that's no cap, that's no nothing. The history shows it. I don't have to lie. This is one of the biggest things I get off on, not being a liar. Instead of being a liar and giving shock proof and having people come through. Here, if I lied on here, I could garner probably thousands of dollars in donations if I wanted to. But when you're honest and you're straightforward and you tell these guys, hey, you guys need to stop giggling like a bunch of bitches at a fucking beauty salon and start getting back in order. You know what I mean? That means not sitting around and fucking flushing every dime you can get out of fucking having debates online and selling tickets for it, Sonetta. That means not going around lying to people, telling you you're opening a fucking school and 10 years later it's done nothing but fund your lifestyle, Umar. Same thing goes for you, Tariq Nasheed, even though I could say separate from that motherfucker, at least you have shown and proven some things. You've actually had events and shit like that, which you charge for tickets. So, hey, what was that, the Coon Awards or some shit like that? Total waste of fucking time. You should have had fucking 3 guys who were ex-military guys over there, and instead, Tyreek, you should have had those guys at the show and replaced the Coon Awards or fucking documentaries. A couple of y'all watch documentaries and think you got the fucking answers to the world. You don't. You don't even know how to correlate the information that you found in the documentaries, decipher it, and go research on your own. You just reiterate and repontificate what you heard instead of what you know, and instead of deep diving. So more y'all put emphasis on going live and then actually gathering the information. You understand what I'm saying? So it's more profitable for a lot of these guys to just reiterate what they heard in some documentary, reiterate what they heard some other podcasters say. I've got motherfuckers that have taken my words literally out my mouth, and I know because I've watched them up to the point, and then they will turn around and use the exact same word and the exact same phrase that I've used it in their podcast and act like they've come to some new epiphany of intelligence. And I was like, damn, this is what getting all these views gets. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it gets. It gets people that are copycats. Well, copying is the best, imitation is the best form of flattery. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem is when you take somebody's words and you weave them into your own little personal, dark, twisted narrative. That shit I got a problem with. Before I go, because I'm not going to do a 2.5 hour. I did a 2 hour and 49-minute live the other day, didn't get one donation. It's we got people of color so locked in to want to do giggles and he that their mind is not attentive to anything unless it has cackles, he or whatever. And to be quite honest with you, motherfuckers, if that was the trick, y'all failing miserably. There was this commercial. I'll see if I can find it. There was this commercial. It was called "How to Sell to the Negro," and it happened back in the 50s and 60s. And they told you all these different ways to sell the Negroes or whatever, whatever. What makes them happy? What makes them smile? They love to go around and brag about they got something expensive. So you have to sell them the most expensive thing because it's the only thing that makes them feel special, right? It's the only thing that makes them feel special. You've done the same thing again, and they're selling to you again, and you're consuming again. And your thirst for consumption of said products, of said little tags that make you feel like it. Don't talk to me about that. I did the Porsches, the Mazis, the Lambo, I did all of them. Is you're sitting back and you're taking consideration and putting that paramount over everything else in your life. Remember this. If the war happened tomorrow, or if another shooting like Buffalo, New York happened tomorrow, not only can they shoot that luxury car up, not only can they shoot you up with that nice $300, $400 suit you have on, etc., 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 but you lose something more than that. You might possibly lose your future existence. There have been several different, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but at one time in this world, there were several different types of what we now commonly call Homo Sapiens, but several different types of humans. This including Neanderthals, then this, what do you call them? This Denisovans. I think that's what you call them, Denisovans or Denisovans. Then there was pygmy types, and then there was I mentioned Neanderthals, troglodytes, which were more monkey than anything. Yes, troglodytes, and a couple other species or whatever. Out of all those species at one time existed, right, which was like 7 or 8 of them, whatever the case may be, more formally, believe it or not, in Africa and the Middle East regions of the world. And I want to make sure underline Australia with the Aboriginals, because there was actually 3 types of what you now call Aboriginals that inhabited that land before the British came in and made it a slave colony. Yeah, if y'all didn't know that, Australia used to be a slave colony and a prison colony later on. It was a slave labor colony, then a prison colony later on. I don't know if y'all knew that, instituted by the king. Yeah. These groups ceased to exist. A lot of things stopped them from existence, but the fundamental thing that stopped them from existence mostly was colonialism. The colonization of them made them cease to exist. The hatred, because getting rewarded or treated, just like you saw with King Leopold and the people he had. He used to have black soldiers cut off other blacks' hands that weren't working hard enough. Belgium still refuses to apologize for King Leopold. They said he acted independently. That's their statement. As of this past week, you can go look that up if you like to. They refuse to actually, yes, apologize. For the times of stand, to the times of slavery, to the times of Monroeville, with President Monroe and his colony, there have always been a system set up. You call it whatever you want to. Some people call it, what do you call it, Willie Lynch or whatever, whatever, which is just a bunch of doctrines. It wasn't really actually a letter. It's just a set of rules, really. It wasn't ever even written down. folklore, some people would try to say, but a universal, if anything, idea that you could instruct and get people to do what you wanted them to do psychologically. You know, that's why a lot of you got to learn how to say "fuck you." You know what I mean? Do that one time to somebody white that's just obnoxious and nasty. You know what? Fuck you. What are you gonna do? Try that, and you'll see the fear come out of a motherfucker's eyes. See, if somebody thinks they psychologically got you, a lot of times that is what it is. But a lot of times you stand up for yourself real quick against people that you think automatically got you by the balls. And keep. And instead, you want to get online and complain about it later and be like, key. I was going to do this. Key. Well, you see what the white establishment does is this. The key. You tree stump fucking preacher. We're tired of it. And a lot of these young kids, they're going to start asking you the same thing. The fuck you going to do about it? You don't believe me? Watch. I'm more attuned with them than I am the older cats because of my age range. You know what I mean? But one thing I am in tune with is the older crowds too. And they have not a clue what's going on. They have not a clue. I sometimes thank God I went through the little circumstance I went through or whatever, up until 5 months ago and that little homeless stint I had. Because it showed me and it got me back in touch with what's really happening on the ground. You understand what I'm saying? And what you think, a lot of you older YouTubers that are on here, they claim you're for the people, whatever. No, you're for a set segment of motherfuckers that have already accomplished something or already made some money. Just like you see so many of these rich rappers, instead of rushing up to Buffalo and saying what I could help, how they could help, instead they choose to buy another rich rapper a gift in hopes that they'll do a track with them. Yo, I bought you a Bentley. Yo, I bought you a Lambo. Yo, I bought you that. You motherfuckers can be bought, tagged, and sold just like this. And don't tell me no different. Guys, my name is David Lewis. Please go back and watch a replay of this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and like. Peace, David. Check. You know what? I'm going to stay for one more minute because I got to. My man TMH Global up here. TMH Global, if you just now tuning in, I was just talking about the reciprocity of people sitting around, especially a lot of these grown men bloggers. I think I'm going to go a few more minutes here because that's my homie right there. And he deserves a show because he actually donated here. And guys, if you want to donate, the link is in the description box. If you don't have Cash App, it's Cash App $STRINGERBELL80. You can also use PayPal. You could also use GoFundMe. You don't need to sign up for that. Just to let you know, because I know a couple people said, well, I don't have Cash App and they don't want it. I understand that. So guys, feel free to utilize those other two latter. They're in the description box. That's right under the title of this this little broadcast here. You got so many men that have podcasts nowadays, and they sit around. And what I notice is they sit around and they prioritize, instead of the subject of what they're talking about, they prioritize having jokes and humor, giggling. And I know a couple of YouTubers that are literally actually comedians. They tour, they've been doing community. Thank you, TMH. He just wrote it right there in the chat room, y'all, so y'all can see it right there. They prioritize for some reason or another sitting back and giggling instead of actually constructively coming up with some solutions. They spend the bulk of their time on their what's the name complaining and yelling and screaming in these octaves and these tones of the preachers of the past that used to stand on tree stumps on 125th Street in Washington D.C. and Chicago and all these multiple cities across the nation that have predominantly large classes and large numbers of blacks and Latinos. Y'all please hit that like button too. As a result, some of these men that are sitting back and they're on their podcast, they reach people in the tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands in number, and they influence these men. All right. I've got probably 6 or 7 shows that I religiously watch. I even watch some of the older shows just to see where they were at, to see the direction I'm going to take mine. And one thing I always find consistent over and over and over is show after show after show after show after show that have a wonderful topic, but will conclude in the he. And I'm like, okay, I can see Papa 1 or 2 jokes snickering a little bit or whatever, but by the time they get to the fucking end of the conversation, everything's about jokes and giggles and trying to talk in a slave octave. And I'm just like, first of all, should find it very disrespectful if somebody feels that they have to lower their normal octave in their voice to approach you and talk to you based off the fact of familiarity, based off of skin color. Okay? I've seen that happen many times, and many of y'all have too. When you're going into some location or something like that to order something or whatever the case may be, or just in this direct correspondence with somebody, and they'll throw out some little thing. Hey, yo, my man. Hey, yo, what's up? Hey, yo, you know what I'm saying? Yo, word, da da da. And then when you see them 2 seconds later and they're dealing with somebody white, hello, sir, how are you? I'm like, what are you, a fucking chameleon? Like, what you're crazy, huh? That's called multiple personality disorder. That's someone that doesn't know who they are, really, to be kind of honest with you. That's someone not only that doesn't know who they are, that's someone that at the drop of a dime, they will turn into somebody else on you just like this. And you got to be wary, you got to be alert, and you got to watch for this stuff because when these guys do this, they'll do it to you sooner or later. Sooner or later. It's only a matter of time before they'll do it to you. Now, I've watched, and I'm talking about their friend, colleague, co-worker, whatever the case may be. If you see them exemplify this type of behavior or one of those that I just mentioned, you need to get the fuck away from them. Trust me, it's not going to go good. It might seem good right now, but it won't be in the end. There's a certain podcaster right now that I watched his meteoric rise this recently, based off another comedian. Speaking of comedians, whose show he's on. I like the kid. I like the kid a lot. And I don't know if this is his cousin, his friend, or whatever. Or he's just calling out his cousin. I don't know. Y'all might have grew up together, whatever the case may be. But I know a slick motherfucker when I see one. And so I wrote in his comment section probably 3 or 4 times. I said, yo, man, you need to get that motherfucker away from you for a couple of weeks. Because one, when you didn't have almost close to 100,000 followers or whatever the case may be, why the fuck wasn't he on the sofa with you? See, a lot of people will wait for you to build shit on your own and then want to come behind you. You understand? I know that shit. I see that happen with artists and everything like that. The artist show up, he might have 10 people with him. By the time he gets signed, starts getting the cars, starts getting the residual checks, now it's grown to 100. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of those guys, he's paid, and some of them he ain't. You know what I mean? Some of them just around to be around. But people love popularity and their addiction to popularity or faux popularity, really what it is. Because if you don't know, just look at the example of Kevin Samuels. And look how few people, that man had hundreds of thousands of followers. God bless his heart. That man had hundreds of thousands of followers. And at the end, when he was buried in the ground, not only did people jump online and ridicule the man, make fun of the man, say stuff about the man that was untrue, talked about the woman that was only woman that was there trying to save his life, whether you agree or disagree or whatever. We should not talk ill of the dead. It's written in the Bible, but whatever your preference is, that's it. Outside of that, what sits is the modus operandi still that when that man passed away, not only was he ridiculed, but he was quickly forgotten. His name was used to generate views for other podcasters that many times didn't even care nothing about only what he had to say, but who he was as a person. They went out of their way to disrespect this man, but did not show the same energy when it came to Harvey Weinstein. Did not show the same energy when it came to Joel Epstein. Did not show the same energy. Do y'all realize that R. Kelly has had more energy thrown at him in regards of his case or whatever? And I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but have you not just put on an even on the balance scale? See, there's a balance scale that used to exist. I don't know if it does anymore with most of it because most of it is anything goes, which a lot of y'all are influenced, believe it or not, by what's currently going on in the culture right now. And I want to say, which has been taunted the most by women and secondly by the LBGT community, certain segments within it. Because there's certain segments within it, which I'm finding online or whatever. Yes, I investigate everything. What I'm finding is a lot of these people don't agree with a lot of the agendas that LBGT has. You understand what I'm saying? And they are LBGT members, which was a mind blowing for me because I saw this off of one post and it influenced me to go and look more into it. And these were people of color that were part of that community that were making these announcements and saying what they were saying. Y'all please hit that like button if y'all would. My contention for saying all this is this reason alone. When you get a lot of this influence and the wrong type of influence, you don't realize sometimes, and it's set up like that, unconsciously, you're starting to take on the tenets of whatever that ideology is unconsciously. You'll start blurting things out or whatever, don't even realize you're doing it. I know this when working in the advertising department at Bad Boy. We would there was a term called force feeding the artist, all right, to the public. So basically, what you do is you just keep on throwing literature out. You keep on throwing what's the name. The break of artist now is probably $150,000 back then. than if they don't have, and that's if they don't have no talent. Okay, I hate when people do that. If an artist has talent, he'll end up like Bobby Shmurda and them. They throw it up online, the people will do it for him. But if an artist is lackluster, don't have that much talent, it's gonna cost you about $150,000 to $100,000, maybe 70,000. You can pull it off to promote an artist correctly. So what they'll do is they'll throw double the amount of that on there. And they'll throw out literature, da da da. Because all artists, you think it. Okay, they give him the upfront. That was 450. Do promo. He'll probably make that back at shows within the next 2 3 months. It's nothing. You understand what I'm saying? So he'll pay that back in residuals. Well, the same thing has kind of happened in the YouTube world. If I'm not going too far off for y'all, where you have a lot of people on YouTube now that, based on popularity, they're able to not only garner higher donations than people that have less followers, even including myself, but others too, because I've seen them saying the same exact shit. And I'm like, damn, are people listening? You can hear what I'm saying? We're still donating to Umar 10 years later. Like, these cats are all prison scene and don't watch the news or read about what's going on in the outer world. That's all I'm talking about, GT Massive. That's all I'm talking about. He gets what I'm saying. These are guys that are using sound quotes, voice quotes, language quotes from other people, compiling them together. We all do it kind of, okay? We all do it kind of. I'm talking about everybody in the world. If you quote Albert Einstein or you quote, whoever philosopher or whatever, that's exactly what you're doing. It's not plagiarism, but you're quoting someone else's words. Okay, that's fair. I have no problem with that. But when your whole diatribe is basically pantomiming somebody else's words, that's a little weird, especially if you don't give them acknowledgement. Like, you've always noticed that every time I take something or whatever, like when I do this one right here, which is the funniest shit in the world. Hey girl, I got that from Star in the Morning in the Star Report. That's not mine. You know what I mean? When I talk about funky bitch, that's Corey Holcomb. You understand what I'm saying? That's his bit. That's his thing. You get more respect in quoting the person. That's why you always hear someone accolade, always say the same thing. Well, as Albert Einstein said, as Socrates said, and this is how people that are really intelligent talk. Like my man GT Massive just said, what was that motherfucker's name that was on A Living Color? If y'all ever see the reruns of that show, it's hilarious, okay? This is where Jennifer Lopez and Jim Carrey and Jamie Foxx really got their start. There's this guy on it. What is his name? Oswald something. I think it's Oswald Biggs or something like that or whatever. He's a prisoner in there, right? And he talks like this. And he said, well, what you see is what I have to do to particularly, prostrate myself or procrastinate excuse me, what I meant was procrastinate. You know what I mean? That's what he means. These prison lean, learned motherfuckers, they come in and they're really talking the rhetoric that they were talking 20, 30 years ago. If you listen to a lot of, go back and listen to Dick Gregory, go back to listen to Malcolm X, go back and listen to a lot of these guys, and what you'll hear the same words reiterated 20 years after their death, then 40 years after their death, and now damn near 50, 60 years after their death, they're still saying the same phrases or whatever, but they'll coin them and try to pretend like they're theirs to the new batch that's out here, the batch that's 18, 19 and under, that don't know who these guys are quoting. I remember the first time I came to my father and I said, yo, I want this. They had this jumper or whatever, and it had a picture of Malcolm X on it that was spray painted at the time, or airbrush really. And I said, yeah, I want the one that say what was it? By all means necessary. And my dad corrected me at the time. He's like, no, Papa, that's by any means necessary. So it's like a lot of people don't understand that a lot of these guys and a lot of the stuff that they're quoting are words of other people. A lot of y'all could be brought up on charges of plagiarism if you really want to get punny about it. You know what I mean? To be quite honest with you. And they influence a lot of these kids that are coming up. So now these kids are not only mimicking the words that they say, they're mimicking a lot of the ideals that they say unconsciously. They don't even realize they're doing it. And one of the things that I don't like is they're starting to share in this sentiment of it's okay to be racist back. And I'm telling you, yeah, in some cases, call a motherfucker redneck when it's needed. But on other cases, just walking out into society and thinking that everybody is against you every 5 minutes or whatever, whatever. I know it's hard. Trust me. I know the snickers and smart little things that people say, and I know it's rough. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to let that dictate my whole day and dictate the premise of everything that I get online to say, dictate the premise of anything that I get in my hold and have to say, or whatever the case may be. And if you're allowing that to do that, if you're allowing people to influence not only you, but influence your kids as well, then you've got a bigger problem. And the bigger problem out of all of it is, especially if you're funding these people. There was this one kid out of California, I ain't gonna say his name, because I really, not on a fighting sense or I want to beat you up sense, but I just don't like you. You know what I mean? And this guy was one of those types of guys that sits back and y'all make sure y'all hit that like button for me, please. If you don't donate, you want to donate, you can. It's right under the description bar there, whatever. And it's also here in the pinned comment, excuse me, in the comment in here in the chat room, Stringerbell 80, $ STRINGERBELL 80. If you don't have Cash App, you can also go and hit the description box, which is right under the title of this video. You can just hop off, go there real quick or after, and you can hit that, what's the name, it'll drop down and you'll see 3 different options for you: Cash App, PayPal, and GoFundMe. Please feel free to donate to those like y'all donate to Omar and everybody else. But I know I'm a lone star on this one here, so I don't really, I know what I'm ultimately going to have to do here, and which I'm trying not to do, which is partner with Google. But yeah, AdSense, yeah, it's a damn shame. Like if you're not lying to people, and this is why I'm talking about this more so than anything, please hit the like button if you would, please. It's not that hard to hit the like button, people. You got these people out here that are giving these tenets to the kids or whatever, and they're becoming more and more passive aggressive. They're becoming more and more violent. They're becoming more and more standoffish. They're believing that a lot of their advocacies actually hold merit or whatever, and they're based off of ideas and theories, most of it. And when they approach the real world with these ideas and theories or whatever case may be, and they say they don't work out or they're not accepted, then the first thing in the recluse is to play victim now. But if this 40, 50, and sometimes 60-year-old man, like we saw with that shooter that used to preach the same thing on his channel, the same shooter that was in Brooklyn on the subway a couple of weeks ago, he used to preach the same thing on his YouTube channel. Oh, we got to do this. And you don't get hit that by example. I don't know what to tell you. So the way that you're going to liberate all of us is to jump on a train and start shooting innocent people in a predominantly almost white neighborhood, trying to invoke basically what you're saying is, um, let's take it up in arms to shoot everybody that's white. I don't believe in that no more, sir, than I believe in taking up arms and somebody that's white and shooting everybody that's black and Latino. No more than I agree with the Mexican family that's trying to come over here across the border into Texas, which Texas is motherfucking Mexico. There's a lot of gumshoe, tap dancing, negrity. That's the best way I can say it going on. And if you guys don't speak up for it or keep donating to it or keep supporting it with your voices, with your presence, with your view, you're going to see the destruction from within of your own self, because you're not only not going to be prepared, but everything that you think that you're going up against, you're going to find out very quickly that it was an assumption, a presumption. Because, like I said at the beginning of this, if you didn't grow up with whites, and you didn't get into being around whites into adulthood, maybe college or whatever the case may be, and most of your friends were urban, quote unquote, black and brown, then how the hell do you expect to prosper through that? Thank you, TMH Global. Yeah, they're not gonna do that for me. They only do that for the bigger YouTubers. It'll TMH Global is trying to tell everybody what I be trying to say all the time too. And I just gotta say this before I get up off here. And I appreciate the 3 people that just left, because you have no intentions of. Based off the mind state that a lot of African Americans are in and a lot of Latinos are in, they have no empathy towards their own. They have no generosity towards their own unless you're at a certain pivot. You understand what I'm saying? Consider it to them. In some cases, they'd rather just listen to you over and over and over again, take your ideas, reiterate them, or whatever the case may be, and put them up on their channel. I'm cool with that too. I think I got a pretty good, strong message here. But one thing I will say about this is not something I just say online. I actually like really do this offline. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this has always been me. Like, you can go back to posts that I put up when I used to be on Facebook, stuff like that. And the lives I did on there, I was talking about the same stuff that I was talking about then. And what I'll do, I even rip a couple of them and upload them so you can see. I've always been consistent. But for some reason or another, there's a detriment within the system or whatever the case may be as far as people of color is concerned. So I never look towards many, I won't say people of color, but I don't never look towards too many people of color um, donating to me or whatever the case may be until they see an exact amount of certain people following or exact amount of people in your chat room, cutting up and not even paying attention to the subject you're talking about. They're just sitting there having their own conversations and shit like that. So I appreciate people like TMH Global, people like Annette, people like Susan, and a few others that do come in and they see through all the hype and like Monique says, the fluff, and they actually do donate or whatever. And I want to say thank you. I can't even tell you how many times TMH Global and Net and them have literally saved my ass. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to have air conditioners up in here as soon as we can find a store with one locally, because stock is fucked up right now. But hopefully we will get some air conditioning because it's getting hot. But yeah, guys, if you want to donate, it's Cash App $STRINGERBELL 80, or you can pick GoFundMe and PayPal, which are also in the description box. That's right under the title. Just hit that little upside down triangle right there, and I'll lead you right to it. And I'll also put it in the pinned comment. And if not, that's cool too. I just want you to get the message. That's it. Many of us entertain angels aware, but many of us entertain evil and very unaware. You damn right they are. That's basically what I'm saying here. A lot of people nowadays have not even realized they're so freaking blinded to the fact of trying to chase money, trying to chase popularity. Everybody can't be a fucking chief, and there's no Indians. Sooner or later, the whole brigade's gonna fall apart, and that's what you see online. Everybody wants to be a chief. Everybody wants to have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I damn sure know some of these unversed motherfuckers that get on here and pretend and collect thousands of dollars. I had to start setting up for myself and say, hey, I got to have a weekly goal. My weekly goal now is $500 every week, and I think I can do it. But they will entertain people. Their followers will entertain people. You know what I'm saying? The followers will. Thank you, TMH. Their followers will entertain people that really don't have any experience, but will talk about the music industry. Really don't have any experience, but talk about the streets. Really don't have any experience, but talk about people any and all kind of way that are superstars or whatever the case may be, from the comfort of their studio, from the comfort of their whatever. And when you mix in all that negative energy, I saw, like, I was speaking of Kevin Samuels, I'll go back to that again. I watched a live, and everybody in there wasn't even listening to what the guy was saying. He was making some very valid points. He said at the beginning of it, so I had to listen. He said, I don't agree with everything Kevin Samuels did, but this. And everybody in the chat, except for maybe like 5 or 6 people, would sit there and they were just bashing. And they were paying at one point in the live, they were paying because of super chat days. I don't do the super chat days because Google takes 30% of it. And you don't get it till like the 25th of the month. But every 25th of the month, they release it to your bank, whichever you made is super chats. You don't get that super chat money immediately. I don't know if y'all do that or not. But they kept super chatting him because they wanted them to highlight the bullshit they were saying about Kevin Samuels. I've seen another one like that from Monique just recently. I ain't gonna say who that was from because I don't have to tear down other YouTubers to get myself popular. You know what I mean? And at this point, it's like I've been here so long, I've been doing this so consistently, it would make me look like a fool if I did. But the only thing I'm saying to you is watch who you're funding. A lot of you guys are funded charlatans. A lot of you guys are funded liars. A lot of you guys are funding frauds. A lot of you guys are funding motherfuckers that never even graduated high school, which I would have throw up something for you to prove the point of what I'm saying here. I've actually got somebody actually saying it themselves, that I caught. But it's sad to see that this togetherness thing is now depleted by how much money you make and how well you can almost emulate the voice of a white person, but not emulate the soul of the best of white people. You understand what I'm saying? And that's one thing we know from growing up in the suburbs and everything else, or whatever you want to call it, that if you're going to emulate whites or whatever, it's the difference between being influenced by them because you grew up with them. It's a difference between trying to be like them because you pursue something bigger in life. And whether it's Carlos Slim in Mexico, who was a Mexican gentleman that never did that, and that was one of the biggest telecommunications companies in South America. Look him up, Carlos Slim. I think he might have sold the company or something like that, but he was a quite contender for a long time. In many other countries, what you'll do is you need to follow suit. None of these men bend or fold to the United States or its white inhabitants, and these are brown people, and they've done it for years. Even if you look at Africa, it's the same case. You know, a lot of Africans, they'll call you Yankees, Guineas. They got a couple words for you, trust me, if you didn't know. A Yankee, like especially Jamaicans. Go teach them Yankee them. You know, they'll call you Gideon. Guinea. You know, in French, if you're talking about somebody that was from, I forgot what that French country speaking, French country speaking. They'll come to me in a minute. But there's a lot of people that are taking thousands and thousands of dollars here online, and you guys voluntarily donate to them. And I'm just trying to tell you, start separating the fluff from the real. If somebody's always sitting in the studio and they never on foot on the ground and moving around or whatever the case may be, or they're always trying to sell some tickets or sell some type of program or some shit like that or whatever, and that's the basis of why they're doing something, that shit's just whack. I don't do my stuff for this the benefit of that. Even though this is how I make my living. I'm a YouTuber, full-time YouTuber. You know, who would disagree with that? It's not a day you can't come to my pages. There's like at least 2 to 3 videos, if not 4 up. But you will get respected by that by many other African Americans until you hit a certain threshold or plateau, even with all the followers I got. And unreluctantly and unfortunately, the followers don't either, you know, and they use this as a pivoting point on whether they donate to you or whether they support you or whether they come back to your page or whatever the case may be, instead of listening to your message and what you're saying to them. And in many cases, trying to save them, you know. So I'm not going to spend 2 hours and 40 minutes with you today because I refuse that. I wanted to make sure I stayed at least another 30 minutes just to respect TMH Global for always supporting me, always. And you know, I have a duty, I feel, to people that, and, you know, this is how I think. I don't know how you guys think, but I think if people donate to me and they support the channel, it was hard enough to get me to get people in here to hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? There's something about me that, in the broader sense, I don't know, people don't like what I'm saying. But I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you one time, last time. I say this with good intentions. I say the things that I say with the hopes that you'll listen to me and try to gather yourself and reposition yourself and not just be so sure of yourself that brown nosing, which I see so many Black and Latino people do. They literally just kiss ass and put on an acting role. And what I mean by acting role is you have one set of rules and one set of engagement for whites, and you have another set of rules and set of engagement for your own people or Black people. And usually it Black and Latin people, and usually it's like skewed or more disrespectful. That's what I find. It's not held at the same level of respect, and especially even more so when it comes to the women, you know. So, you know, yeah. So that's all I got to say. I don't have more to say other than that. I'm gonna be throwing up that upload after this, about that young woman that this man rushed into her office and would not leave her office for whatever reason or another. And this man had actually, this white man had actually been accused of this at several other businesses out in Indiana. Um, this woman, I'm not sure what she did as far as a profession that wasn't really allowed it to me. I'm thinking she might have been some type of CPA or something like that or whatever. But she tells the man in the video, look, I'm giving you your money back. You got the free refund. Please get out of my office. And the man refuses to leave. So once again, I raised the question of, if you men are online, key, and giggle, 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 maybe it's time you reassess things and all that money that you creating and you growing with or whatever, instead of buying chains and, you know, like Umar and many others or whatever that collected over well over $2-3 million. You know, and you go into casino and what's the name? Professionals, full-time YouTuber who under the premise over delivers, very underrated, very unappreciated. Thank you very much. He said professional is a full-time YouTuber who under promises. Yes, I do. And who delivers and is very underrated and underappreciated. We appreciate him and here for him. Keep doing your thing, bro. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I always love when I get stuff like that from time to time, man. I really do, because I just I don't know. Like sometimes I'll be lost. I really do. Sometimes I know I skip a beat sometimes, you know what I mean? But I try to be as transparent even from day. There's no transparency like the transparency I've given here online. You know, you guys have seen me, and the people that follow me for a long time have seen me at my very worst to my resurgence. I'll say that. But you would have to scroll probably a year back to see that. I documented all of it. Um, I went through some severe homelessness shit during the pandemic based on a set of just different things that just led to that. The pandemic being most of it, you know. But I was actually out here walking around New York City, fucked up, man. You do it great. There's no one else on YouTube like you. Keep doing what you're doing. And I always listen. Thank you in that. Thank you so much. It's um it's just amazing how like people this like I said before, I did a 2 hour and 40 minute live the other day and I couldn't even get one person at that time to donate. And I felt like everything I was saying was valid, everything I was just gushing out my heart or whatever. But a lot of people on YouTube, especially black people and Latin people, they don't have a preference for that. They have a preference like what these guys are catering to that I'm speaking to about today for the giggles and ha 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 and he or whatever. You ain't gonna get that with me. I'm not here for the giggles. I'll laugh with you, joke with you, or whatever, whatever. But I'd rather have a few sincere followers that not only because they're the love towards them ain't about contributions or nothing like that. It's more so the words like that. You know what I mean? That's what keep you want to go. That's what keep you want to move or whatever, whatever. And from what somebody else told me this recently, thank you. They say you're gonna be huge, and I believe them. You know what I mean? And time will see, but I believe you. I believe in myself, and I remember. I'll just leave you with this. For many of y'all that are new here, whatever, whatever. I used to be in the music business for a very long time, and whatever the measurement of my consent or whatever, I was with the company. You know what I mean? So I ain't bigger than Biggie, but bitch, I'm bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? So it allowed me to meet a lot of people in the industry. I'm set for been out of that industry for years now, since 2016, 2017, aroundish. Um, I remember the reason I mentioned this is because of this. I remember before prior when that happened, 99, 98, coming into 2000. I remember there was so many people that say, "You ain't gonna get with no record company. It ain't gonna happen." Da da da. Da. And I did it within a year and a half. I got with a record company, and I knew dudes that was sitting there year after year after year, still saying the same shit. Look, TMH is laughing. Year after year after year saying the same thing. And I'm like, well, you still say you said when you once said that 98 here it is 2007. Never mind. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Good luck. You know, so even though I didn't, maybe launch as fully as I did as an artist, I had the experiences. I recorded Daddy House Recording Studio, which is Puff Studio. I recorded in rooms that Big recorded in, 112, Cassie. I had some of the same producers as some of those people, or not Big, but some of the other artists or whatever. So it was an amazing experience. Shout out to Steve Dickey. Shout out to Fall Out Flow. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Shaquan. All of them, they know me. You know what I'm saying? You can ask them, say about my real name or professional. They all know me. They've all recorded me in some capacity or another too. Good dudes. So I'm really happy for that. I've also recorded an Electric Lady studio or whatever, but I just remember I did that within a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? And not that I only get with a record label. I didn't get with like such and such records. I got with Bad Boy Entertainment. So I don't think I did too bad myself, you know? So this is, I guess, the second segment of my life or whatever. And I'm now singing. I'm back to being happy and having a smile on my face or whatever the case may be. And whether you donate or don't donate, which you can find the links in the description box, or you can find a link right here in the comment section. $sign STRINGERBELL 80, Stringer Bell 80. And a lot of you seen it seemingly like when some people yell out the cash app or whatever, you want to log off or you want to run off or whatever, whatever. It doesn't have to be you. Just to simply just hit the like button. You know, that attributes me to finding other people, you know? I mean, it shouldn't be a deterrent because I've heard white people say worse on their podcasts and shit like that. You motherfuckers will flutter over there time after time after time after time after time. I've seen people literally that were black bloggers that got caught in lies. and they still going over there. You know, I ain't gonna say a name, but shout out to Cardi B. There's never been a statue erected for critique. Critique disappears when your dreams start to appear. That's right. I think some are afraid to speak on some topics because they think their audience can't relate. Yeah, most people want to learn new things. And that's the whole thing. Like, I'm glad you said that. It's like most of these guys, see, I said I was gonna get off of here because I really can't dedicate the time like that if I'm not getting any donations like that. It's just like it's retarded. But I do want to say this because this is bigger than that. It's like they all simultaneously, if you look, next time a big story breaks, look, and you will see a litany of at least minimum 150 people talking about the same thing. Then the next thing will happen is consistently for the next 4 or 5 days, those 150 people will talk about the same consistent story. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you a perfect example. When the Will Smith smack happened, right? I probably, I want to say, out of people I follow and what flows through my page, I didn't see anybody with that at the time. And at the time I caught it, it had just happened maybe 10 minutes earlier. Like the person had just put up the video footage. So I was like, yo, I got to get this up or whatever. I didn't do that well with that part of the footage. You understand what I'm saying? Because there were so many people that came after me, and there was just certain things put in place to make that go fluid a little bit more, right? Now, you put that versus the video footage that I put up with the dude that attacked him and how he looks with his elbow. Okay, that's my key moment for the video. A key. That shit was funny. He's like, yeah, I ain't seen him on the street. He's like, what happened, sir? It bumped me up. What happens? I can't hear your jaws hurt. It bumped me up. That was funny because he deserved every bit of that. But that video garnered thousands of views on me versus the actual attack didn't. So it's like, people, how can I say it, man? People on YouTube, especially in the Black and Latin ecosphere, they seem to somehow or another just pantomime each other and really don't have any original material, original thoughts, original takes on things, except for a few. And if you just keep going to YouTubers that just talk about the same shit all the time and never have any solutions offered, but just complain, then I gotta ask you at that point, is it you? And maybe the way you think isn't exactly the way things go. I find this weird correlation of how people actually think that Google as a company has changed its approach of how it's dealing with its consumers, or at the general, how dealing with the consumer has actually changed. It hasn't changed. It's just what they roll out to you has changed. The vehicle in which they roll out the same ad. So before you would have seen it on TV. Now you see it on YouTube. Now you see it in between when you go on a Facebook ad. Now you see it after you've done a Google search. That's all that's changed. The same people are still in line, the same people that will sign the checks, the same systematic way of working things since in some cases the Greeks were in existence is still uniform right now. Those simple things are inclusive of geometry, math, fonts. You understand what I'm saying? Which come from Roman numerals and excuse me, Grecian, not Roman, Grecian. Grecian and Roman are two different things. But it's just amazing to me that so many YouTubers are just scared to have an original thought. I remember when Alpo died. That was probably one of my biggest lives. Now my lives, not views, but lives. I had 55,000 people on there at that time. And you can still go look right now. It's still up or whatever, whatever. You have to scroll a lot, but it's there. And I had all these people on there listening to me, wondering what was going on and da da da. And I tried to get the best I could. I did that one and I did maybe three follow-ups and then I let it go because I said, I don't want to be the guy that's the expert of why the kingpin drug dealer died. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no parts of that. I'm not a drug dealer. I'll probably be way okay, better than I am if I was. You know what I'm saying? That's not my life, you know? Like, I'm the guy that has an occasional drink here and there, whatever, whatever. And, you know what I'm saying? Smoke my cigarette and that's it, you know? So it's just crazy that And I'm not even really a drinker. I went to a wedding, because most of y'all know, y'all see on my page. I had 5 drinks there. I was like, shit, staggering. Shout out to my boy Uptown Cerrone, man. Open bar, and I was fucked up on 5 drinks. I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. So trust me, if I drink, it's at minimum. You know what I mean? It don't take much for me. But it was just amazing, man, that so many of these guys, they just don't have any gumption to come up with original material and deliver it to you. I saw this one kid, he probably for a straight 2 weeks kept talking about Alpo, kept talking about Alpo, kept talking about Alpo. And I was like, was he a lover? Was it was he your boyfriend or something? Like, no disrespect to Alpo and his death, but I'm just like, the way this man was talking about him so intimately and so passionately, I said, you got that much. It was the premise of which he was talking about, which was a drug dealer. Okay? A drug dealer that had been convicted for killing other people that look like you and I. You understand what I'm saying? One notably that he killed and went to jail for damn near 20 to 30 years or something like that. So I had no interest in making that the crux of my story for the next week or 2 weeks. But basically we got a term for it as YouTube was you eating off the footage. And that's what he was doing. And I respect it, but Jesus Christ. And it was other YouTubers who were doing the same thing. Alpo's mistress comes out. Alpo's cat speaks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they had all these repeated videos. And I just saw people donating $50 here, $100 here, $20. I said, what the fuck? And some of these guys didn't even live in here in the New York City tri-state area. Alpo was from Harlem. It's less than an hour from me. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. So when we're talking about the mentality of what the audience, I think the audience is really in a haze right now, to be quite honest with you. I think that typical YouTube, Black and Latin YouTuber is in a haze where they think that they're worshiping, they're idolizing is in the best interest because of color and skin tone or gender versus what the person is actually saying and what he's delivering. Davy, your voice sounds like Michael Wright, the actor that played Eddie Kane in the 5 Out. You have to look into voiceover work. That is the third time that somebody said that to me. I have a friend of mine, I mentioned him before. He actually works over there with what's these guys? 50 Cent and all those guys. At least that's what I thought. He's actually from here in Connecticut too. And I've worked with this man before when I danced on Direct Effects on MTV for 2 seasons. And let me tell you something, Mr. Clayton Terrence, he one of the best guys I've ever met in my life. I got to see him recently a week before the pandemic started, like literally a week before the pandemic started. And my ex-boss was still boss, my big brother, I love him fucking to death. Sean Prez's event where we did this thing called Power Moves Makers. It was a podcast or whatever. So that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Like a lot of that influence right there. It's funny how God works. I got to sit down with everybody. I was around Chris Gotti, which is Erg Gotti's brother. This was at a different one. This was for Tony Dofat. I just spoke with him the other day. Shout out to Tony Dofat, one of the hitmen. Um, it was Tony Dofat's one that I went to independently, and that was with Casanova. He's in jail right now, for whatever reason or another, some kind of RICO thing, kind of similar to what's going on with Young Thug. And then the people that I like to say we had, because fuck that. Prez, you go whatever we had, sure. Presby, I do Pres. The reason I say we because Presby don't be late. That was his whole thing. Professional, don't be late. Love him to death. But we had everybody. Jeff Tweedy from Sean John, DJ Envy was one of the guests. Funkmaster Flex, which I wasn't there for. Michael Bivens, which was the first one I was there for. From Belle Biv DeVoe, New Edition. Jesus Christ, Sean Peckus from over at Rockefeller Records. Dia Sims from Revolt TV. Um, Jesus Christ, I'm trying to think who else. For all these people, we were interviewing them, right? And this wasn't like what you guys typically have as a what's the name? Like we had a shooting location. The shooting location was filled with people. You understand what I'm saying? So you could come in and there was an audience actually. And I think a lot of other people need to start evoking this too. But we had an audience, and I think that's what made that different. And I'm going to talk to Prez because I think Prez really needs to take every last one of the episodes, archive them, you can now license them shits and put them back up because the information is still relevant. Like when DJ Envy came in, DJ Envy was talking more about real estate than he was actually about music. And sure, there was people in the crowd that were asking questions. They're allowed to have a Q&A at the end, whatever the case may be. Same thing happened with Tony Dofat at the same location for his Q&A with Casanova. And I gotta say, let me tell y'all something. Say what you want to about Casanova, but Casanova's from Brooklyn. Our shoot location was in Brooklyn. He said, yo, somebody said so before he was getting ready to leave. He said, yo, what you about to hop in the car? He said, no, I'm walking. It was just the way he said it. Like, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm walking. You know what I mean? Walk before the start. I'm going to walk after. I like guys like that. Those are the type of guys I came up around. But we interviewed a lot of people, and based off that, I was just soaking everything in, and I was like, I was already doing stuff online, but I wasn't as successful. So when I first did my first video, I remember I did it. It was in the moment that I got screwed and didn't have a place to stay at the moment, and I was kind of homeless. Well, not well, I was yeah, I was, but at first, and then completely, you know what I mean? But it was kind of at first, completely, But I remember someone just told me one day, it said, turn on the camera. And I did that. And it really just changed everything. So, I'm glad you said what you said because it made me think of that. And I'm sorry I got into that long diatribe, but I just wanted to add all in that in. And Terrence, thank you so much or whatever. I want to say Press, thank you so much or whatever. But that man working with one of the 50 Cent shows or whatever. I'm not sure which one of the shows with 50 Cent he was working on because he was also with another dude that was a producer or some capacity on the show with him when I ran into him at the shooting. But I had to give a plug for Press. Fuck that. And make sure y'all go with the DJ Vlogs, Vlog TV right now and watch the full interview with Young Jock. You know what I'm saying? Young Jock, I met you in Miami. I ain't gonna front to you. I really didn't like you. You know what I'm saying? But I listened to your interview and it maybe garnered some respect for you. I think you were just having a moment that day or whatever when I met you at Rome. But you just gave me this look. I was like, I don't like some of the artists I just did not like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just did not like them. I was like, you know what? In a personal life, I wouldn't even fucking talk to you. And I'm pretty sure everybody that worked in this shit, they had their own, you know what I mean? But yeah, man. So lastly, the only thing I want to say is, guys, start asking more of your podcasts, to start asking more of your uploaders, et cetera, and demand more for your dollar. That's all I'm saying. Instead of them getting on every day and just, complaining about this, complaining about the white man, this white man, that, or whatever, whatever, but out there no solutions. And if we start the revolution, all they probably do is squeal. I'll talk to you guys later. Links are in the description box. PayPal, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Make sure y'all hit them up, support the channel, man. I can use y'all fucked up. You know what I mean? These bills and all this is bad. And more importantly, I got this phone bill to take care of, so that I ain't paid yet. So y'all donate something. Donate 10, 20, 30, I don't know, whatever, something. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys in a minute and look out for the upload. I'm going to be putting that up in a few minutes. And also look in the comment section. If you can't find that link in the description box, it'll also be in there. Thank you guys for spending your time with me. Make sure y'all hit them buttons after that. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye, Net. Bye, Superstar Bella. Bye, GT Massive. TMH motherfucking Global Salute. Annette Foster salute again. Who else is up in here? And everybody else that tuned in and didn't write any comments that I can still see you in the thing. Y'all better hit the like button too. I'm gonna cuss y'all out. Y'all hit the like button. Later, y'all.